After graduating from college, our next hero spent a year working as an English tutor and moonlighting as a caterer for the local drag show circuit. One night after a show, having consumed several vodka tonics, he heard a commotion down an alleyway. There, two men were assaulting a third, and heedless of his own safety, our hero hurled himself at the pair. He took them down, swinging his bag laden with Oxford English dictionaries, MLA and APA style guides. Though the innocent man was saved, our hero fell into a river known for its pollution and became entangled in the costumes he wore. Rather than drown, the toxins suffused his body, mixing with the alcohol in his system, and he was transformed. He awoke on the shore to find that the entire river had been purified and distilled to vodka simply by his touch. All who drank from it were themselves transformed into Adams and Steves, thus furthering the gay agenda and bringing peace, prosperity, and partying to the land. Now he has come to the most parched place in this country to heal hate wherever it shows its ugly face. One of the newest members of the team, his code name, Tonic, he is Zach Wilson.
Thank you, Tim. I'm not an alcoholic, I swear. I wanted to dress up tonight in the spirit of Halloween, like Ellen DeGeneres, but then I thought people wouldn't be able to tell the difference from how I normally look. So I just wore my weirdest pants instead. Thank you. I'm going to read an excerpt from a piece called Moth Fruit. I grew from a day-old avocado that had been slightly bruised from being placed on the counter a little too roughly. I bear a craggy brown stain on my left shoulder as a result of this, though the rest of me is a pleasant pulsing glow, like lazy retro bubble lights or slightly melted sherbet. I've not always looked this way. My true skin is inconsistent sandpaper, which disappeared when I was still quite small, retracting into my shoulder blades a single centimeter each day until the soft meat of my underflesh was in every way exposed. I first lived inside the kitchen cabinet above the stove, the one with 2 lead paint bubbles and a smeared paprika stain, which always smelled faintly of soup and onions. It was here that I first became conscious of my pit, which resides squarely in the middle of my chest. There are those who mistake it for my heart, which it is not. When I was young, I was split from spine to sternum because Catherine said I must be severed in order to mend. She used an old paring knife which had long lost its sharpness. As a result of this operation, my pit was exposed for a time. When I bent over too far, small streams of silt would run out of the cracks. As I grew, so too did a springy shell which covered my embarrassment, the flesh a consistency between jello and a racquetball, though I still feel a hard lump when pressing between my breasts. Eudalinia was a white moth who lived in the duplex 1 street over. She found her way into my cabinet through the kitchen curtains, damp with dishwater. Now she is my lover, though I have not seen her in 36 days. The night we met, she entered without sound and landed next to me, carefully avoiding the swaths of flypaper which lined the inside. She asked if I enjoyed John Hughes films, and we played spades until she returned home to shower for work. I quickly outgrew the cabinet, but Yuda's visits continued. I left various windows open for her until she grew comfortable enough to use the front door. Catherine does not trust her, but I do not think she trusts me either. Catherine calls herself my mother, but I do not think of her as such. She probably feels this way because she first found me in the produce section and later proceeded to teach me about Galileo and shopping malls once I was able to be taught. When I was young, she dressed me in oversized t-shirts bearing the names and logos of Harvard and MIT. Crimson and cardinal clash awfully with green, so I deftly shredded them all with the sewing scissors from the hallway closet. Catherine is not my mother because she does not love me, and in fact never informed me of the concept. I think that Catherine will die soon, and I do not know how to feel about this. She hacks away into a faded lilac handkerchief each evening after smoking 7 Marlboro Reds, and twice a week remarks that she has coughed up a lung. I have often wondered if I could cough up my pit and destroy it in the garbage disposal, but I'm always too afraid to try. Catherine's lessons are lectures, and sometimes slideshows are included. Conversationally, we communicate through questions, beginning with who, what, where, when, or how. Where is my denim blouse? I begin. How many umbrellas must you stack to reach the moon? Catherine muses. What is their diameter? What if you have cancer? I ask. Who will hire you without a degree? She responds. When will you learn to let me go? I have never spoken this last question aloud. I pretend to say it each evening and often forget I am pretending. My room in Catherine's house contains a mattress, bookshelf, and a square dented cookie tin in the back of my closet. This houses a sliver of my fruit, sloughed from my cheek the time Catherine slapped me. The piece in the tin has become brown and shriveled. A few flies cruised lazily around its perimeter when last I examined it. The slap occurred after Catherine caught me touching myself one night when I thought she was asleep. I always waited until after her last cigarette of the evening, when the hallway was dark and still and the light of her television flickered underneath the door. Whenever I am touched, my pit comes alive and hums with pleasure. Occasionally, in a fit of excitement, it releases puffs of dust up my windpipe. I grit the grains between my teeth to keep from moaning. I have felt a sense of shame from this sensation, though its blissfulness is undeniable. Yuta is the only person who has ever touched me, and the most beautiful woman I have known. She is at once pearly and silver all over, except for her eyes, which are very dark but not unfriendly. Gray spots cross her brow like freckles. Her breasts and hips are smaller than mine and without curve, which I enjoy teasing her about. We both enjoy prose poetry and the third Nightmare on Elm Street film. Many nights I walk through the backyard and across the sidewalk to slip into her room. We lie in bed together while rubbing each other's thighs and whisper sensually of Foucault until the other giggles. Yuta makes the best mojito I have ever had, the perfect blend of tang and syrup, though usually the liquid seeps into my pit and takes several hours to trickle out and numb my extremities. After dinner, she pins me down on the faux white leather futon, marred by makeup stains and hookah burns. I lie malleable as she twists the skin of my neck with her teeth, tender moth fruit beneath the fervor of fluttering desire. Yuta's father left her family when she was 7. She orders Thai food when I mention him. There are a dozen rosaries hanging in her hallway, and she recites a different one each day. When I ask what she is praying for, she is never able to explain, though I ask her to say some of the prayers for me. She teaches me the Psalms for the ruby strand, each bead the second verse of a Bee Gees song. She later informs me that the opal beads are for Carole King. Last month, she made an extra key to her apartment. It is blocky and blue, with an etching of Garfield on the hilt. Lately, I have begun to feel its weight in my pocket when walking to the supermarket. 37 days have passed since Yuta found me in her bedroom with a small brunette formed from the seeds of a pomegranate. Yuta began to cry, and my pit launched a vile syrup into my mouth, a taste like tree sap which returns each morning when I wake. The separation has been easier for her. She has gone on several dates, first with 2 women named Donna, and then an Iranian poet with a cluster of moles on her left breast. I have rarely left my room, though twice this week I walked downtown and sat next to the fountain. I like the way the mist covers my exposed arms in a fine spray, like the rows of vegetables in a grocery store. Catherine and I ate at the Grapevine on Friday evening, and she ordered the prime rib for each of us. The waitresses are over 60 with arms that struggle to carry the faded china platters of breads and meats. Without fail, they whisper about me each time I sit down. There's that Catherine's girl who glows and goes with women, they say. I speak very little when we eat here, and spend most of my time tearing the homemade rolls into tiny pieces. The prime rib was chewy, and the restaurant smelled musty from a mildewed patch on the ceiling. I have slept in Catherine's house for over a month now. Every 4 days, I buy a caramello and shove it in the back of the fridge behind the Alfredo sauce and ranch dressing. Most nights I wear my socks into the kitchen and eat a square in front of the stovetop, counting the number of crunches the chocolate makes before it dissolves. The cold caramel is thick and often sticks to the back of my mouth. Last night I slept with a woman fashioned from a tank of propane. Her eyes were like Yuta's, but her skin more leathery and jaundiced. Her kisses were sloppy and rough, but I did my best to pleasure her out of courtesy. I wonder if Yuta has slept with someone, and if that someone has a pit softer and more lubricated than my own. Last week I used my key to enter her house, but found only a pile of unfolded laundry and the burnt smell that happens when a curling iron is left on too long. I wish Catherine had taught me how to apologize. Perhaps she tried, but there was a Brat Pack movie on that day. My flesh has lost luminosity. I do not speak of this to anyone. Rough skin reemerges from the tips of my shoulder blades. I have not measured, but I know it expands a centimeter each time I wake. Yesterday, I made mojitos in an attempt to drown the tree sap, but the two reacted disastrously and launched the drink back up my throat. Today, I threw the mojitos away in their plastic pitcher. There is a dent on the left side where Yuta dropped it when she saw a spider. I laughed at her then. I am vaguely aware that my skin will spread, and I will be sandpaper as I was before Catherine found me. I consider the bruise on my shoulder may heal itself when I'm in hibernation and definitely immobile. I wonder if I can preserve myself in 100 metal tins, 100 slivers of decaying memory, a perpetual feast for flies and moths. I finger the onyx rosary I took from Yuta's, humming off-key Mellencamp and smoking my third Marlboro Red of the evening. Perhaps I will inhale 4 more and cough until I expel whatever causes my failures, all of them bitter and filled with soot. Perhaps Yuta will return in the morning. Thank you, guys.